Welcome to the third episode of the Hube Knows Best Pod. Why you gotta be so insecure? You could be anywhere in the world, but you are here with me, so I appreciate y'all. On this pod, I'm going to give you the truth and nothing but the truth. Well, as best as I can, so help me God. So you know what it is. We're here to give you the hacks to improve your life, whether it be business, investing, personal, or health. I want the best for y'all. Also, side note, shout out to my little twin who turned 1 on Thursday. Love you, son. So going to tap into talking about a topic that's kind of been, I guess, inspired by the recent happenings with Keke Palmer and her baby daddy. I think we all deal with insecurity in life, whatever it may be, whether it be your work, your athletic performance, friendships, and relationships, just in general, especially romantic. And so, with that, I sent out a poll this week, and thank you for those that participated and gave me their answers on some of these questions. So we're gonna tap into that, discuss what went on there. I got this on live on YouTube Live as well as Instagram Live. So as you guys have questions, pop them in the chat. I'm down to kind of answer any questions that you may have, and then go from there. So first things first. I asked the question, would you feel a way about a person you're dating or in a relationship staying with a friend of the opposite sex that you've never met? And the majority of you said yes. To be honest, that's like very disappointing. Not only because I have very close friends that are of the opposite sex, but I think it's very rooted in insecurities around partnership and the people that you may or may not be dating or have dated in the past. And I think from my perspective is like, I have a lot of friends. I've lived in a lot of places. I went to school in DC, lived in DC and went to Howard, lived in San Diego, I lived in Oakland, I lived in Atlanta, and now I live in Chicago. And to be honest, I have a lot of women friends. Now, at a point in my life, I had more women friends than male friends, and we're going to get into that topic later. But I have a lot of real, genuine friends that are women that, show up for me and show out. And to be honest, I don't see them all the time unless I'm in their city. And so I think the question is really like, do you think you're going to meet every friend that someone has over the before they ever go to that friend's house? Like, especially someone that travels a lot like me. I just don't think it's realistic to think that, hey, it's not respectful, it's not okay to stay at a friend's house of the opposite sex, especially like if I'm not laying in your bed, what does it matter? Like I have most of my friends have multiple rooms. I know my best friend, Brisa in San Diego. I stay in her son's room most of the time, or if I'm not sleeping on the couch. So to me, that's a very that. To me, that just doesn't sound right. And I know for me, I'm not going to trip. Now I think there are things that you can do to, keep people, or keep your partner, or make them feel more secure in that relationship or that situation. But it's like, if you don't trust your partner and feel some type of way about it, that might be a bigger issue with either yourself or the relationship if you can't feel like you can trust them to go stay at a friend's house that they're saying is a friend. And I know for me, I personally not paying to stay in a hotel. Like, I have friends in most of the major cities in the U.S. I'm not paying to stay in a hotel, especially when I'm in a relationship, just because I don't have no reason to bring anyone back to my room, so I don't really need privacy like that. So why would I pay for a room when I have a very close friend that is allowing me to crash on that couch or crash in their extra room? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me that you would need to make me incur an additional cost or make your partner incur additional costs because you don't know this person personally, or you haven't met them. Now, to be fair, as a partner, I think it behooves you to FaceTime and let your partner know beforehand. So like I wouldn't just be like, oh, I forgot to tell you that I'm gonna stay at Keisha's house or Brittany's house this week. That's crazy. That you're asking for trouble, and that at that point you're doing too much. You're being disrespectful. Like you're not even taking into account that how your partner may feel about that. So I would be like, hey, I'm gonna get on FaceTime with you. Let y'all meet on FaceTime, whatever. So you have an understanding who this person is, and you have to make sure that the communication stays consistent. Now I've had that issue before. Like when I'm with my friends and I'm doing stuff, I'm not really on my phone like that. So that's a concerted effort you have to make to, make sure that you're having conversations so your partner knows where you are, what you're doing. Now, that may not make them feel 100% secure, but that's doing something to kind of, I guess, ease some of their concern. And now I did ask this question for the LGBTQIA plus community because I didn't want this to be exclusive, or I wanted to be inclusive in this conversation. And I think for most of them, they said it's a no-go either. Like for whether the person's same-sex, non-binary, whatever that may be, it was a no. It was a hard, fast no. Even more so than the hetero community. So I think just in general, people don't find, like me personally, I'm not going to trip. Like if I trust you, if I see you as a partner that I can respect and I can trust, if you tell me this is your friend, it's your friend. At the end of the day, I can't control you. I can't make you do anything. And so I think that's something people have to kind of take into account. Now, having too many friends of the opposite sex I think this one is a tough question that some of you might actually be surprised by my answer. I think it is an issue if you have more friends of the opposite sex than of the same sex. And here's why. I've heard the arguments on both sides about, who you grew up around and, what you're comfortable with the type of things you're into. At the end of the day, there are women that are in the sports. There are women that grew up around a bunch of men. I just think after a certain age, it becomes like a BS excuse for why you don't have more women friends or more men friends on the opposite end of that spectrum. So like as a man, and this is something that I've come into in the last few years of my life, because I've dated women that don't have a lot of women friends. And then I've seen what the result of that is when it comes to my relationship with my partner. It becomes like a lot of insecurity around the amount of women friends I do have. It shows up in how they interact with other women when I'm around, or you hear things like, oh, I can't keep friends or women friends. And to me, that's a huge red flag, because if women aren't drawing to you, don't want to be around you, I think that says something about your spirit as a woman. And I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. But I think there's something off if a man or a woman can't make friends with the same gender who have probably more shared experiences, more similar experiences than the opposite gender. So to me, that's a huge red flag. When I see that, when I see women that don't have women friends, I'm like, okay. And you got a bunch of buddies you have a bunch of male friends. I'm not worried about you smashing them. I'm just worried about where's your sisterhood? Who's going to be there for you when something is going on that I can't necessarily help with and a man can't help with? We just don't know. And selfishly, I don't want to have to bear that burden of being everything for you and having all the answers when I'm not going to have them. And then from a male perspective, I'm going to be real, guys. You're probably smashing your your female friends. If you got a bunch of girls that are your friends and you don't got a bunch of homeboys, you don't keep it with your friends. Because at the end of the day, when I was younger, when I was in college, I definitely had a lot of female friends versus male friends because I grew up around a bunch of women. Most of the people in my family are women. I grew up with my mom. I grew up around my aunts and my cousins that were women. So naturally, I dealt better with women because that's just generally who I was around a lot. But as I got older, my male circle grew much larger than my female circle. And so to me as a man, if you're in your 30s, hell, if you're in your late 20s and you got a bunch of women friends, if you say they are your friends, I'm gonna call cap. I'm sorry. Now, if you're, like I said, if you're in the LGBTQIA plus community, that's a whole nother thing. That's not my lived experience. I can't really speak to that. But from a heterosexual perspective, that just sounds fishy to me. And so, I'm not sorry if I'm putting y'all on blast because I've had these conversations with my women friends over time that it just doesn't make sense to me as a man. And honestly, if you're not able to make friends with any group but the same gender as yourself, you might want to seek therapy because there might be some childhood trauma or something that's going on with you. Just, like I'm a big advocate for therapy and mental health coaching. So take it how you want to, but that's my perspective. If you just got a bunch of friends of the opposite sex. Now, let's see what we're talking about in the chat. I seen you, Jackie. It's not insecure, it's a respect-based thing. We trust our partner. We don't trust these friends. Hey, look, if you don't trust the friends, that at the end of the day, that becomes personal. Like because I've said that before. Like I don't trust. It's not I don't trust you. I don't trust these dudes. So I don't say the other word. And so yeah, that's not a thing because when I truly trusted somebody, I didn't care who they were around. Like because if I trust you to do the right things and I trust you as a person, you're going to show up in a way and you're going to check anybody that steps out of bounds, whether I'm there or not. And so if I can't trust you, then yeah, I might feel some type of way. If I can, I ain't worried about it. So that's my take on it. And then so let's go to the next topic. So like checking in after a night out, to at least let you know that you made it. Surprisingly, a majority of y'all said no. That's not a red flag. And to me, that's very mature, y'all. I actually agree because unless your partner has explicitly asked for this, and I dated somebody in the past that felt some type of way if I didn't let her know I got home, and I would be like, bro, I was out, you were asleep hours ago by the time I got in. What difference did it make? Unless they're asking for this as your partner, I don't see what the big deal is. Now, if you want to let them know, hey, keep the peace as much as you can. But I've dated people that don't require that, and I've dated people that do. So, and I think that kind of a lot it has to deal with like control issues. People are control freaks. They want to know where you're at all times. They want to possess people. And I've had this conversation with friends before, like even around monogamy. Like monogamy to me is about as it's instituted right now, and even when it was instituted, well before we were here, it was more about possessing people. And I think we have to move away from thinking that we control and possess people when it comes to their movements. Like if you trust me and you know where I was and where I'm going, and don't lose no sleep over it, especially if you text me in the morning or I text you before you wake up. Like that, to me, that should be a non-issue. Let's see. And yes, Jackie, I said, I understand. If you don't trust someone, because you don't know that friend, then like I said, when we get to that destination, then hop on FaceTime, let them talk, make sure that you're having communication consistently while you're on that trip. But I think that should be the pretty much end of that. Like it can't be any deeper than that, especially if you trust me and I'm telling you that this person is my friend. All right, let's get into the pop culture topic. We talked, like, I asked the question about, like, should Kiki have gotten the green light from her baby daddy, her boyfriend, whatever you want to call him at this point. Light skin feelings is what I'm calling them. Should she have? The majority of you said no, and this was a huge margin. Not surprisingly, there were a lot of ladies that said no, and the fellas said no too, by a large margin. There weren't a lot of fellas that said yes, and I think that has to do more so about where we are as a culture, not wanting to police women's bodies and things of that nature. And so I think, from my perspective, I'm not here to police any woman's body. I know for sure that I would have been uncomfortable, whether she's my wife, my girlfriend, whatever she is, if I saw her on TV, on internet, whatever, with her ass out, hugging up on another man, especially because I'm not there. Like, I think for the most part, the only time your butt should be out is at the beach or the pool. That to me, that's just a lack of, call me conservative, call me whatever you want to call me, because I'm really not that. But that's just how I want my woman to carry herself, is to not have her ass out. But on the other end of that spectrum, two things can be true. I don't understand why people get on the internet and start tweeting their feelings. Like, I posted this on my Instagram story earlier this week, on Threads earlier. Do not pick up your phone when you're in your feelings. Put your phone down. Nothing good comes from it. Now, would I send a text? Probably. Would I have talked to her when she got home? Probably. But that's more of a, like, when I calmed down or, cooled off. Like, nothing good comes from, like, picking up your phone when you're in your feelings and doubling down on it, especially saying because you're a mom, because it had nothing to do with her being a mom. Like, there are plenty of moms with their ass out on the internet, and I'm pretty sure he follows them. So that, to me, that was a wild bar. Just say, like, hey, I don't want my girl doing that, but don't even tweet it. Like, you could have just texted her that. And I do know friends. I have friends out in LA and that are in the industry that has said that Kiki has dressed provocatively in the past. So again, that's knowing who you sign up to be with and understanding your own boundaries. So don't go trying to change people. If that's what she was doing beforehand, Kiki is a grown woman. She's almost 30 years old. So, she can dress how she wants. And if you don't like it, don't be with her. Don't put a baby in her. I don't know. I don't know what bro was thinking on that. And then, just from my perspective, like, if that's not what you into, don't do it. And I think another thing that kind of put a nail in the coffin for bro was, like, I was told that he posted a video of her twerking in the house or something. Like, dude, you can't have it both ways. You want the world to see your girl twerking, but then mad because her butt was out. Like, you're talking out two sides of your mouth at the same time with the theatrics. Now, with a even wider margin, a lot of you said that she shouldn't have got a green light. And I think that's true if we haven't had that conversation. Now, if we've had that conversation and I told you, like, hey, I'm not comfortable with that, I'm not cool with that, and then you go and do it, and the first time I see it is you hugged up on Usher looking somewhat like a groupie, I'm gonna have an issue. Whether it's Usher or anybody, to be honest, like, that's just crazy to me if y'all had that conversation. Now, if you haven't had the conversation, hey, free world, she can do what she wants to. She's a grown woman. And that's kind of that's where I'm at with it. All right, so we also talked about, like, what's the cutoff time for outreach. And a lot of y'all said 11 p.m. I don't know about y'all. At 36, my phone going D&D at 11:15, especially like when I'm working, I'm probably already in bed sleep. So you hitting me up at 11, you just gonna be calling my phone and going to voicemail. But I think from me, from my perspective, I've always kind of leaned in on like, don't text people after a certain time if you know they're dealing with somebody or they're in a relationship, just to not cause issues, because I don't want people hitting me up after a certain time. So like my time would have been 10, which came in second place. But who y'all that said whenever it's dark outside, that's a wild bar. It gets dark at like 5:30 certain days. So like hopefully y'all was joking. 9 o'clock is reasonable, but I think 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock should be kind of a no-brainer. So, you know, I'm not even really worried about causing an issue or like being on that, but like most of the time, if you call, I think from my perspective as a man, unless we are like thick as thieves, like you my best friends, you like my sisters, or like this is an emergency. If you hit me up after 11, I'm thinking you on something, whether I'm in a relationship or not. So I can only imagine how somebody's significant other would feel, because what do you need to talk to me about at 11 o'clock at night, to be honest? That can't wait till 8 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know, guys. But yeah, that was an interesting thing to see. I was actually surprised to see most of you guys said 11. So kudos to y'all for not being too concerned with people hitting up your significant other late at night. Now this was very interesting to like kind of understand how like the Black community and y'all, the views on extra people in your relationships. I've seen this evolve over time. I think people just get more comfortable being more realistic, but still, the majority of you did say that you would feel some type of way if your significant other, your person you're dating, initiated a conversation about adding a third. And so, while that is the case, it was a very slim margin, like 2 votes difference. And so, I'm gonna hand clap for the ladies. Congrats to y'all for being progressive and allowing your man to bring that to the table. And shout out to the fellas. But I think a lot of that is y'all thinking they're gonna bring in a third that's a woman. Now, if they bring in a third that's a man, we're gonna see how y'all feel about it. And I'm talking to my heterosexual males now. Like I said, LGBTQIA plus community. I'm not in it. I don't know, but some of y'all did answer that question. So, and hey, at the end of the day, what you do in your house is what you do in your house. So I'm not here to judge, but also at the same time, we don't possess people. And I think as a society, we have to understand that love is love, and people are going to feel how they feel. Now, don't get me wrong. I am a faithful Christian, but I'm also a critical thinker and realistic. And so whatever people are going to do in their house is what they're going to do in their house. But I think we have to move away from this "I possess you" thing when it comes to people expressing themselves sexually, if you really want to work through who y'all are and what y'all do. So, but then interestingly enough, when we got to like, would you guys police the interactions with the third person, as far as like how much interaction, how much fun they're having with this third person? A lot of y'all, well, not a lot of y'all, the majority of you said you would not police it. And that's interesting. So while on one hand, some of you were saying that you would feel some type of way, you would go ahead and let it happen and then not police it. But there were some of you that would police it. And my advice to those of you that are saying that you would police the fun interaction in a threesome, don't even bother. Like, in what world is your partner going to stop what they're doing and like be like, oh, am I enjoying this too much? Am I going here for too long? Am I like, just enjoy the moment. If you in it, and be in it. If you're not, then don't even do it, because that's going to cause a whole nother issue that you're not really ready for. And so that's just something to keep in mind, in my opinion. And so, and then the last question that we had was, are you okay? Are you cool with, or would you have an issue with your partner, the person you're dating, whoever they may be, having a bunch of friends that are former lovers, whether they were in a relationship, they dated, they hooked up, whatever it was? The majority of you say no. Now, again, kudos to y'all. Slow clap for not being like y'all confusing me a little bit. Some of y'all, like half these questions, y'all being very possessive. The other questions, y'all not being possessive. But and it wasn't a wide margin. But I think from my perspective, like I actually have a lot of girls that I'm cool with that we might have had dealings 10, 12, 15 years ago. We still cool. I have people that I dealt with recently, like, and they understand, like, when I'm in a relationship, we still cool, but we not cool like that. And so I think that's a sign of the time where people just understand, like, sometimes you're gonna make friends with people that you slept with in the past, and y'all realize it's not ideal for a like long-term romantic relationship, but y'all have a lot of things in common. So, hey, by all means. Now, I do have like a segue into the friends versus friends, like friends. Are there rules to being friends with somebody you used to be with? Like, I know for me, like, I don't really communicate as often. I don't, I'm definitely not hanging out with them at their house one-on-one or going out to dinner with them one-on-one for real like that. It's got to be a group setting, like for sure not staying at their house if I'm out of town, like if I'm in a relationship. So like I would love to know, like put it in the chat, whatever, like what are your rules around that if you are allowing your partner or you're okay with your partner still having friendship relationships with people that they've dealt with in the past. And like, doesn't matter how long ago it was, like, could it be 6 months? Does it have to be 6 years? It can be 16 years. Like, how long ago does that relationship have to have ended? Would y'all ever be cool with them people? Like, I don't know that, like, I could personally be cool with somebody that my person used to be with. Like, I might not be, I know I wouldn't feel no type of way about them, like, being cool and like still having some type of friendship, but like me being cool, I don't know that I really want to do that at all. And then this is another question, like, are those people allowed to, at your wedding? Like I had somebody ask me this, like, hey, would you invite the girls that you dealt with in the past to your wedding? And my answer to that is no. Like, just because I want my bride to be comfortable. But some of y'all might not feel the same way. So, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat how you feel about that. All right, guys. So this was a quick one. I want to thank y'all all for joining me today. But it is about that time to say sayonara. So with that said, I encourage you to be the best you that you can be, because everyone else is already taken it. And I wish you peace, patience, understanding, knowledge, wisdom, discernment, and health, strength, resolve. Hold on. Here we go. Question. Keeping doors open are dangerous. And hell no, they can't come to my wedding. I hear you, Jackie. All right. So till we meet again, y'all be easy, or don't. But every action has a reaction, and every choice has a consequence. Peace.